This is About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills, author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Sit back and enjoy.
Hey family, how y'all doing today? You know what? Vending is about to explode. Vending, where people are setting up at festivals, flea markets, church bazaars, even yard sales. That's about to explode. You know what? Now, I've done something on like the whole retail thing, and anybody can do a search on it, or really just walk through your local mall. You know, especially if you in lightly populated areas, and you're going to see like empty stores and stuff. And no matter where you are, even in where I live, right, I can always find like big spaces that are empty. And you know, because where I live close to the business district in the little town I live in Maryland, right, Bel Air, Maryland. And you know what? I mean, you got so many like empty buildings. I mean, it's not all, of course. It ain't looking like a ghost town, like not looking like some places could look, but they still empty, right? The thing is, people still want products. People still want products. Regardless of what happens with retail, like you hearing about, like Sears closing, like many stores, and you know, Sears and K-Mart, because they're connected, owned by the same entity. And you know, a lot of people get their inexpensive stuff from there. What you want to see is an explosion of entrepreneurial people who are going to start setting up. You know, usually it starts with just selling some old clothes. You know, a lot of times you get some, you know, you got something and it's not in style anymore or whatever. It's still in good shape. You try to sell it. Or you got maybe some old furniture or something you sell. I mean, the most basic type of vending really is the yard sale. You know, in that movie, the Toy Story, there was a part, everybody saw it, it was like, when they say yard sale, you know, it was like, it's funny, whenever I'm driving through the neighborhood with my sons, I see a yard sale, I was like, yard sale, and they start saying yard sale. But that's the most basic. But you take it a step further, you know, people will go to the local flea market, and really with flea markets, you can set up, most flea markets will let you just set up to, you know, maybe just sell some old stuff. They'll let you set up maybe 3 times before they want to see a business license from you. And a business license in most jurisdictions, like I said, most jurisdictions are easy to get anyway. It just says, hey, you gotta like report what you sell. It really ain't that big a deal, really. And most logical, and shoot, with automation online, you could do it without even talking to a person. You just get online, click the right buttons, and send it through. And then all you have to do is figure out how much tax you got to pay on a product, and usually they'll help you figure that out too. You know, you got to pay it on a certain amount of time. You know, and some stuff. And those for the ones who don't pay it, who do pay it. Some don't, but we'll be getting into that in the next video. But you know, you're going to see, I think you're going to see an explosion of that, man. You know, with flea markets, many flea markets are very sophisticated, man. You know, people think it's just a bunch of people with some, you know, some old stuff, but you get some flea markets, shoot, you can get some good things. Especially, you get a lot of Asians who will start off their stuff in a flea market. You know, you get a lot of them. Like, you go in, you'll find like some I'll say irregular, like polo type of shirts. And when I say irregular, like they might not be able to sell them just because a stitch is off or something like that. They might not be able to sell them in a regular store, but the people who make the stuff still trying to get rid of them. So, and some people just want to see the horsey anyway. And if you know where to go or where to look, you can find a lot of that stuff. And that's not even mentioning like the knockoff stuff out there that sell like crazy, or the cheaper versions of stuff. You know, many people buying that. If you know where to get it, you can find it and sell it at a flea market. And a lot of people do that. I mean, there was and I haven't been to this flea market. It's in the Baltimore area. People in Baltimore may remember Patapsco. I don't know if it's still there. I haven't been down that way in a long time. But you go in there, you can find everything, including food. Because you get some of them, they let you sell the food. And then some of them are connected with, people call them the Amish, but they really the Mennonites, who they be up there like cooking. Right? And that'll draw people in, and then they'll buy stuff. But you want to see an explosion of it, because you got all these empty buildings, and somebody's going to say, you know what, we got a working bathroom in here. Why don't we turn this into a flea market? And depending on the mall, depending on where the building is, they'll go for it. Because sometimes if it's really upscale and they got a big empty building, or they happen to have a big empty building, they might not want to turn that into a flea market. They'll figure out something to turn it into a movie theater. That's another video though. But you're going to see an explosion of that, because you can get a lot of stuff. I mean, like I use shea butter. You know, they're good. Not that stuff that like you can find that's mixed with something you find in any old grocery store, but that good old African shea butter. I get that right from a local flea market. Dude knows me, expect to see me, you know. He talks with the sons when they talk back to him. Oh, I shouldn't say it like that, but you know, he knows me. Because I go in there and get my supply. I could get some other stuff. And shoot, the same flea market I get it from, I can get some incense from some hippie friends of mine. You know? And a lot of people, they'll get those places and they'll have little stores in there. And like the flea market I get the incense and the shea butter from, you got some young guys, they selling like some of those vapor things, you know, they smoking. I don't really get into it, so I don't know if I'm even saying it right, but their sign just say vapors. And of course I'm thinking, I got the vapors. But I think you're going to see more of that. In fact, I remember years ago, I was at Patapsco for people, of course, in the Baltimore area. And I just had a table selling some books and stuff, just seeing what it was about. And there was some dudes, young dudes, who had a business where they were putting ringtones into people's phones. And it was just like, hey, I think what we're going to get. See, here's the issue. People still need products. And depending on the product, depending on what you got, you might could sell it there. You could sell shirts. I mean, there's an oversaturation of shirts market in the shirt market, but depending on the demographics of whoever serves that flea market, you could sell some shirts. And speaking of which, this past weekend I was at a festival in this local park. And I mean, people were selling. I mean, I was able to get some herbal stuff that I want to try out. Right, but also, I mean, you had a ton of people selling some shirts. You know, I let these two fine sisters talk me into getting a shirt. They were fine as shit too. But you get some you want to see more of that, because just because these stores are closing, they can't operate. There are going to be some enterprising people who say, "Hold up, why don't I set up?" I mean, at that same festival I was just at. You know, you had one young lady trying to sell me some soap. I was just like, oh, okay. It's like a lot of times you had people selling jewelry, and you have some people, they just live that vending life where they just go around and they'll find out through, you know, anybody who's vending knows there's like a little network, like an informal network where people will say, well, is this going on? Where's this happening? And they can make a living. That's all they doing, you know. Or they sell food or something. And even at that same festival, you had a place that had a restaurant that was like a Jamaican food restaurant that had 3 locations, 3 brick and mortar locations, yet they were still out there charging like $12 a plate. You know, but you're going to see an explosion of that. as the retail thing goes down. Because if you think about it, what they had, and the thing that's really killing the retail is people don't have to shop there no more. But people still need products. People still need different things, so they're going to go out. And then the enterprising people going to say, oh, why don't I sell it at here, you know? Or instead of trying to get in that bookstore, why don't I go around to different festivals and flea markets and set up, you know? I mean, I'm even having an eye towards setting up a series of like little stores in some of these flea markets, because they to the point is beyond. Some of them, many of them are beyond just having like a table and some tablecloth. You can set up little stores for a very cheap price, like you talking maybe $150 a month. And you know, if you got a flea market that might be open 4 days a week, $150 is nothing. If you got a decent product, you make that quickly. In fact, if you really think about it, it's actually more cost effective than a mall, because you'll tend to get loyal customers and everything. But you're going to see more of that as you get these empty buildings across the country. You get some people who say, hey, you know what, I can be an event organizer, like people event organizers, they'll figure out something. People, you're going to see more of this. Those buildings ain't going to sit empty, you know, except for the ones who, you know, if it's a whole entire mall, yeah, well, that's probably going to get torn down for some condos. But you're going to see that more because people still need the products and people still going to need to survive. But I'm going to get deeper into that in my next video. So anyway, think about what I'm saying. Let's go make that money.